Hello, and welcome to my channel. In this lecture, let's learn about the concept of destructuring props in React. So destructuring is not a concept which is specific to React, but destructuring is actually a JavaScript concept, and destructuring simply means when you have a certain object, and when you have certain values inside that object, you kind of like take out those values separately so that you could use it without accessing that particular object. So in order to understand the concept of destructuring, let's take an example. So the props which we are actually getting here, you all know that they are containing the name and the message. So what we do here is that we say props message and props.name over here in order to access those name and values. Now one thing we could do here is that we could actually destructure this props object into the individual name and message values, which we have in there. And in order to destructure those props, there's one simple thing which we need to do, and that is you could simply say const, and you have the properties like name, and then you have the next property as message. So you say name comma message, and you see this equals, and you basically restructure those props by saying equals props. So what this line of code is that it takes the object and it kind of breaks them down into name and message. But there is one thing which you need to remember, that these name and message names, which you have for these variables, they must be same as the values, which we have here. So you cannot name it as, let's say my name or my message, something like that. So these names have to be exactly what's present in there in those objects. Now once you have the name and message, now this name contains the actual name saved inside the props and the message inside the props. So now you could use those values here. So instead of saying props.message or props.name, now you could simply go ahead and simply say message, and over here, you could simply say name. So if you go back right now, the code works still in the same fashion. Now there's one more thing which you could do here, and that is instead of destructuring the props over here, you could destructure those props right away up over here as soon as you pass them to this hello component, and this actually makes your code even more precise. So whenever you pass in some props from a component to another component, so right now we are passing name and message here to the hello component. So as soon as you pass them, you could directly go ahead and instead of saying props here, you could use curly brackets like that and say name comma message. So that way you don't have to use the props word anymore, and you could just delete everything from here. You could even delete this because we have already destructured those props here. So you could even delete that, and now the name and the message directly get passed from here to here, as the props is already destructured here. So if I go back, the code still works absolutely fine. So this is how you could go ahead and destructure whatever props which you pass in now. If you want to pass any other props over here to this component, so let's say I want to pass in another props like, let's see emoji, and let's say if I want to pass in some emoji here, so I could say double colon for emoji and use this first thumb up emoji right there. And now if I want to access this prop inside this, I could simply go ahead and say emoji. And then after the message, I could right away use that emoji. So emoji here, if I go back here, as you can see now, we have a component with the emoji over this. But so this is what exactly destructuring of props is. So I hope this gives you an idea about how a props is destructured inside of a React component. So once we have learned about the concept of a destructuring of props in the next lecture, let's learn about the immutability. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you again.